Almost all of the Last Day on Earth YouTubers have started covering Netease's game called Lifeafter. Both games are survival games set in a post-apocalyptic world, which include gathering resources, building a house, and completing challenges as you level up your character in that world. But while these games have many things in common, these games are also incredibly different. So today I'm going to compare the two games so that you can decide which one is best for what you are wanting out of a game. In this video, there are several plot twists, so if you feel frustrated that your game is not being properly represented, I would encourage you to watch all the way until the end. The first thing I'm going to compare within the two games is graphics. Even though Last Day on Earth has some of the best graphics of its genre, and Netease just copied their other games for their graphics for Lifeafter, Lifeafter still wins by a landslide in this category. Netease's attention to detail is remarkable and their 3D world is expansive. There are of course downsides to having great graphics, like the fact that Lifeafter requires over 6 times as much space on your phone as it does in Last Day on Earth, but if you're looking for a mobile game with awesome graphics, then Lifeafter is the clear winner in this category. The next thing I want to compare is the grind of the two games. Those of you who've watched my other videos know that I believe Last Day on Earth requires too much grinding to get oak and steel. Many have theorized that that will be reduced when multiplayer comes out, but currently getting stone and steel walls is a huge grind. That being said, doing all of the events like the police station, Bunker Alpha, and the farm only take a couple hours a day, and you don't really have to do all of them every time they come up. When you first start Lifeafter, it feels like way less of a grind. In fact, you can't wait to unlock new areas of the map because you don't have enough things to do. But by the time you get to level 20, Lifeafter starts to feel like a full-time job. Many of the most committed players spend over 8 hours a day on the game. Now, one could argue that you don't have to do everything in Lifeafter either, but I see a big difference between those players and the ones that do not play as much. This problem is further exaggerated for YouTubers because Netease does not support their streamers nearly as well as Kafir does, making it very difficult for streamers to play the game and make videos at the same time. This is why you have probably noticed that a lot of YouTubers covering the game are seriously underleveled or have stopped altogether, or in my case have stopped making as many videos. This of course does not make the game any less fun, but I predict that it will make it harder for Lifeafter to grow as much as the game deserves. The third category is multiplayer. This is an obvious win for Lifeafter since Last Day on Earth doesn't really have true multiplayer yet. But even when Last Day on Earth does bring multiplayer to its zones, I question if they're going to be able to compete in this category. Lifeafter has created an amazing multiplayer system. Even though a lot of people don't go to Farstar City because they're too busy grinding elsewhere in the game, it is a great concept and well executed. Nancy Town is not an original idea by any means, but Netease did a great job of implementing zone control PvP into their game. And then Wars at Charlestown just blow my mind with how brilliant and fun it is to play an 80-player 4-way battle. Meanwhile, Last Day on Earth, Prey Survival, and many of the other copycats have struggled to put more than 10 people in the same zone. I'm not a developer, so I don't know why they seem to have so much more trouble, but I would argue that they will never be able to compete with Lifeafter unless they figure it out. That being said, if they do figure it out, I think some of the concepts like zone control PvP will actually be more fun in Last Day on Earth, but I'll talk about that a little later on. Right now, Lifeafter is the clear winner in this category and will likely stay that way for a long time. The fourth category is how friendly they are to free-to-play players. Many of you know that I've been pretty hard on Kafir for some of their pay-to-win tactics, so some of you that are just starting out with Lifeafter might think that that is going to be the winner in this area. But in reality, Netease is just better at hiding their pay-to-win tactics. The first way they do this is in how they set up advancement in the game. Netease does an incredible job of making you feel the satisfaction of advancement. For the entire first month of playing the game, you feel like you are advancing at an outrageous speed. Zones and challenges that were once difficult become a walk in the park, which feels really good, and it makes getting the resources you need easy, which in turn makes you feel like you don't need to spend money to be competitive. Then in addition to that, they make most of their game completely free to play. For example, you can't pay to increase how fast you get experience, you can't pay to increase your camp tax and donation rankings, so it feels kind of even from all of the things that are the most noticeable. Meanwhile, they added 3 main things that are pay to win. The first one is armor and mechanical materials, which if you have have not seen my tips and tricks video for the game, requires over 12,000 for you to max your modifications. But even this one is kind of disguised in the fact that a pay-to-win player needs to do twice as much work as you do to get only 1 star worth of advantage. The second thing that is pay-to-win is new dollars and skill points. Obviously, everyone can get lots of new dollars, and a dedicated player who spends 8 hours a day might not struggle with this. But most active players will always be a couple 100,000 new dollars short from getting all of the skills they want. And then even the most dedicated player who does not buy the Hope Fund will always be in a shortage of skill points. But the biggest pay-to-win aspect of Lifeafter is in formula shards and formula R&D. Formula shards are hard to get, and enhancing your formulas uses a lottery system which can make it astronomically expensive. This, along with a few other things I didn't mention like pacemakers, creates such a huge advantage for pay-to-win players that I've seen 2 talented pay-to-win players defeat 8 talented advanced free-to-play players by themselves. Now, you can mitigate this advantage to a degree by learning how to work the market, but that takes time and a lot of crunching the numbers. If you don't know how to do this, make sure to check out my video on how to double your gold every 5 days in Lifeafter. Meanwhile, the advantage a pay-to-win player gets from modifications in Last Day on Earth is not nearly as much, and steel walls lend no advantage on the battlefield. So I would say that Last Day on Earth wins in this category, but it is important to note that Last Day on Earth doesn't really have a battlefield yet, so it's kind of a moot point. This brings us to the 5th category of which game provides more fun value in the long run. This, in my mind, is another clear win for Lifeafter because not only does it have a lot more content, but it has actual multiplayer. Multiplayer is a huge deal when it comes to how long a game is fun because it can make the same challenges new each time you do it. Now, some of the Lifeafter challenges are getting pretty boring at this point because they're not really challenges anymore, but they are still a lot more fun than doing Bunker Alpha for the 185th time. The 6th category is in storyline. Both of these games are very weak in this area. Lifeafter has a slightly better storyline than Last Day on Earth, but Last Day on Earth has better translators, so I would give this category a tie. I do think it's interesting that Grimsoul Survival, which is one of Kafir's other games, has a much better storyline than both of them, but I would also argue that because Lifeafter is 3-dimensional, I think it has the potential to create a much more dynamic storyline. This brings us to the 7th and last category of which game has more potential overall. Lifeafter is clearly a more advanced game with a lot more content and more dynamic concepts, but it does look like it's capping out on what technology will allow. People with bad phones or bad internet are experiencing extreme lag, making the game unplayable for them. Last Day on Earth has a long way to go before they would get even close to catching up with Lifeafter, but if they did, they would have several things going for them. The first thing they have going for them is that a 2-dimensional game requires a lot less for a phone. If Kafir could figure out why Netease is able to do so much more than them, then it is not far-fetched to think that they could offer 3 to 4 times as much content and still take up less space on our phones and have less lag with more players. Obviously, they have not been able to get anywhere close to that yet, but theoretically, a 2-dimensional game should be able to offer that option. But I think more importantly than that, Lifeafter is set up like a computer game that we play on our mobile devices. Lifeafter players that play on a computer with the mobile emulator have a huge advantage over those playing on their phones. The devs have tried to counteract that, but it is clear that the game would be better on the computer. Last Day on Earth, on the other hand, is designed to be a mobile game. If done well, 2-dimensional games can be set up in such a way that touchscreen controls actually give an advantage to mobile users over the computer. One of my favorite examples of this is Survival Heroes, which has amazing mobile game mechanics. So to conclude this category, 2-dimensional games done well are not only easier for casual players, but they are more intuitive to the mobile platform. So I think that if Last Day on Earth can catch up to Lifeafter in content and conceptualization, they will stay the bigger game. Well, that's it guys, hope that helps. If you can think of any other comparisons of these games that I missed, or you just feel like one of the games wasn't represented well, make sure to add it in a comment below and I will read it, which helps me do a better job on these types of videos in the future. Also, please keep in mind that YouTube does not pay a whole lot, so liking, subscribing, or supporting me on Patreon are all ways that you can help me make more videos for you guys. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.